Welcome to Inside of the Pleasure Studio podcast, where we strip down truths and bear it all as we get real about all things sex, intimacy, and relationships with oneself, another, and the world around us, celebrating the joy of being fully alive and exploring what it means to live a life rich with passion. Every episode, we confront the conventional and break open the cages of censorship as we explore the untamed and often unspoken aspects of intimacy, cutting through the bullshit as we challenge sexual norms and provide you with the unvarnished truth about what it takes to have a fulfilling sex life. So if you're ready to dive into honest and very often provocative conversations that empower and enlighten, you've come to the right place. I am Melissa Louise, your wild host, bringing to you fearless honesty on this unapologetic journey as we talk about sex, love, and life in ways that are smart, fearless, and fun. Because, lover, this is not just about pleasure. It is a fucking revolution. Hello, lovers, and welcome to this episode inside of the Pleasure Studio, where I am going to go on a meandering deep dive around this subject of women really being grounded in the foundation of where we hold the responsibility, the ability to respond appropriately to creating the world that we live in. So I'm going to dive into some topics around, the primal brain of being loved, so we belong, so therefore we're safe, and how we can take full responsibility for that. And I have a few ideas on how society needs to move forward, which right today may not be something that is implemented, but I truly think this is a huge factor. This is a huge part of change if we implemented this, where women actually took on a lot more responsibility of what we create in community. If we want to see the change in relationships and we want to see the change in the world around us, then we need to fully be in the ability to responding appropriately. So this conversation, let's see where it goes. But it is ignited from an Instagram live that I did yesterday with a really, really dear friend of mine, Sabrina from Sacred Lotus Yoni's team. Now, Sabrina and I have a beautiful history. We first met in Costa Rica when I volunteered in an arena where she was working at Envision Festival. My son was about 8, I think 8 or 9 at this stage. And so it was in the children's arena in Envision Festival in Costa Rica. And that's where I met her. And since then, both hers and my life really expanded into expression of what we bring to the world. And we have worked together with women in women's circles, online, in person in Costa Rica, online in Vancouver. And, we're holding a retreat together in October this year here in Mexico. And which you can check out in the show notes down here, the link to that, and also online expressions that we do, offerings that we do together. So the conversation yesterday was around, body shaming that we as women perpetuate with one another, but is also placed onto us by society, which starts when we're girls, which starts from the very beginning, basically, of a girl's life. So the topics that I really brought in, very politicized, was how, the control of the female body and the control of our expression is always pushed, primped, prodded. We cut ourselves, we plump ourselves, we fill ourselves, we paint ourselves. All of this stems from attracting a mate. So when we actually go into the world, I don't know if anyone here has had this experience, but when I speak to men and when I read profiles on dating apps and when I'm in groups of men, the majority of men don't give a fuck whether you put on another 10 pounds. Men in their natural state, in their natural habitat, many men in their natural state they're not looking for a fake woman. So who's providing the men with this fakeness? It is women providing men with fake tits, fake bums, Botox. It's the women going, yes, I know that in our world today, there's lots of men that are also starting to take part in, faking themselves up. But it's actually what I understand. It's my experience and my noticing, because where I live here in Mexico at this point in time, in Puerto Vallarta, it's a city that really supports and houses a lot of gay men. And it's actually that arena that's cutting, plumping, pimping, and not pimping others and like prostitution, but pimping their skin, filling their skin, doing all of this stuff, like filling their bodies with chemicals to look a certain way, to stay young, to attract another. So when we look at the arena or the world where women are doing this, and where we're bullied into this fact that we need to compete with other women and we need to compete in the perpetual maiden phase to win a mate, it's woman after woman after woman after woman doing that, as if we're in competition with all of these other women. So my invitation is we fucking stop. If women stop taking part in it, then what's on offer to men is the natural woman. What is on offer to men is women in their natural state, is every single woman. I often say when people ask me, I'm going to go around in circles, this is how I talk. If you haven't been in my world before, and this is the first time you're listening to me, I first want to put in an apology to you, because I talk in spirals and I go off in tangents and I'm trying to bring stuff in. My brain is very, very busy when I start speaking. So hang on for the ride. Take notes if you need to. So one of the most incredible gifts I ever gave myself, which I didn't realize at the time that it was a gift, what this was going to be one of the gifts out of it. But I went to Havana, I went to Cuba before Obama opened up the sanctions. And I say that because before, and I'm not at all saying that it was a really good thing that they had the sanctions at all, but walking into a culture, into society that didn't have access to magazines and the internet and all of these things, meant people were in their truth. So what I always heard and what I always have witnessed every time I go to Havana and go to Cuba is, all of my male friends there, like there's always someone for someone. There's not a type. Women are not all trying to look the same. They look as they are, because there's going to be someone that loves and adores that, and more than one. Whereas when you come to the Western culture, and especially at this point of time, girls are looking more and more and more the same. Same body shape, same bum size, same boob size, which is fake and put on and primped. Body size is, this sort of projection that everyone needs to be one type of body size, and we need to starve ourselves, cut ourselves, suck stuff out of us to be this size, to be accepted. The people that can change that are women. When we have women that are in trauma, women that are in lack of self-worth, it's perpetuated by other women. So if we have men wanting that, we've given it to them. That's what we've provided. Because if they ask for it, we just fuck off. It's like, this is how my body is. It's how I was born. And I know there's a beautiful arena when we look at fitness and health, but then there's a sickness in the fitness industry as opposed to people being strong, people being skinny. There's a big difference of people starving themselves and fucking up their hormones, especially when we're looking at the woman's body, which is very different to the man's body. And the other thing is to speak to so many men depends what culture we're talking about, where men don't want to be. I'm speaking especially to heterosexual relationship right now. Men don't want another man in the house. What a woman. The softness of a woman is so enticing for men. So if we're giving them hard-assed, skinny, thin, that's not natural. This is the other thing. There are women that are naturally thin. Awesome. You have a look at nature. There's trees that are really thin. There's trees that are really thick. You have the deserts, you have the plains, and you have the mountains. You have the streams, you have the rivers, you have the ocean. You have huge dense forests that humans can't even walk into. And then you have bushland. The earth, the Mother Earth in her natural state is so varied, and all of it is beautiful. And that is women in a natural state. We are so varied, and all of us are beautiful. And, one thing I brought up in the live yesterday was looking at the impoverishment of women because of the belief of what we need to spend our money on. So if we take a 23-year-old young man building business and a 23-year-old woman building business, what's she spending her money on? Her outfits, her makeup, all of this stuff to keep up, to make sure she looks apart. And then also too, we look at the chemicals that someone is putting on their face and their skin, like through all of these brands, the more expensive the brands are, the more chemicals there are, it seems to be. The list of ingredients that then you're putting on your skin, which then fucks up your hormones, which then you need to go to the medical, which you don't need to, but this is what women generally do, is they go to a medical professional to say what is wrong with me, and they give them more pills, and then we control our menstrual cycle. We say that our menstrual cycle is all over the place because we're working so hard, and we're working under the sun calendar, not under the moon calendar. So therefore, when a young girl is born, big pharma and big business rub their hands together. It's a fucking ticket to millions. Women are the ticket to millions in big business. We get to not be that. We have choice. We can choose not to be taking part in this horrendous competition around how we're meant to look, what we're meant to be doing, because the initiation of that is to belong. So let's get to the primal brain. Our primal brain is only ever concerned of three things, and happiness is not one of them. By the way, happiness, your primal brain doesn't give a fuck whether you're happy or not. It needs to make sure you survive. Survival is not happiness. Happiness does not equal not dying. So, am I loved? If we do things that equate to us being loved, what that gives us is belonging. So, we make sure our hair is a certain way. We make sure we wear makeup. We make sure we're only a certain weight. We cannot be over this weight. We should lose a few pounds. We make sure we wear the right clothes. We make sure that we're hanging out with the right people, because all of that means, oh, I'm loved, so now I'm going to belong. If we're loved and we believe that we belong, and we're given the example, the reality that we're belonging right now, we belong in this friend group, so therefore we're in the coolest group of the kids at school, we belong in this relationship, we belong in this family. What that basically means in the primal brain is that we're not going to die, because belonging means safety, and the safety means not death. So how our modern construct is around safety in relationship is, there is a business, there is a very, very profitable business based around marriage. Our modern day marriage. I'm not speaking about divine union's fucking awesome. Divine union, yes. Relationship, yes. I'm not against relationship, I'm against divine union, but many marriages are not divine union. And many marriages are steeped in business, which when we look at advertising, it's a business. The fact that people will spend tens of thousands of dollars feeding other people and taking in a Puritan type construct instead of actually really having truthful conversations. The amount of people, as a relationship and sex coach, time and time again, working with couples who have gone through that or are about to walk into that, and yet they're not even comfortable speaking about their fantasies or desires to their partner. They don't even tell their partner their absolute depth truth, but they're willing to sign contracts which put them into debt, monetary wise. And they walk into that already emotionally in debt because they're not telling the truth, because they're not, and they're, doing things to the body to make sure they're still acceptable. I've gone down a tangent. Let me come back to belonging and safety. So we have pivoted our human experience into isolation and trauma-based housing. Stick with me. When I say trauma-based, the human experience it's not natural for the human experience to be raised by two people, mum and dad. A baby that is born today has exactly the same needs as a baby that was born 2,000 years ago, 4,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, which is it needs the heartbeat, it needs breast milk, and it needs to be held for years, not weeks. And a baby that has come out of its mother's belly, where it's been growing inside of the body with the blood, the heartbeat, and everything has been taking on energetically in those 9 months in the nervous system. And then it comes out, and now it's like cries to speak. The only thing that has changed in our world is the parents' needs. Now, the parents' needs are based in trauma, because we have to work, we have to have this, we have to have autonomy, we have to have this. We've got so much debt that I have to go back to work. I have to put the child into daycare so that I can work, so we can pay off the mortgage. That's not a baby's need. The big fucking 2-story house and the second Jeep it's not a baby's need. The need is the heartbeat, skin to skin contact, knowing that it's loved and it belongs. Whenever it cries, it needs to be held. So a baby's need. So then if we look at the parents' needs, if we go into the parents' needs, it is what's the word? It's not sustainable for a mother to be 24/7 available for their child for the first 2 years. Because also too, in the mother's breast milk, the composition of the breast milk is always changing, and the baby's brain is developed from the breast milk at the age of 2 for what's in the composition of the breast milk. So the baby's needs not even looked after when a mother is putting a child on formula because they need to get back to work. It's got nothing to do with the baby's needs. It's to do with big business. So in the natural state of raising children would be community. There's a grandmother, there's an auntie, there's the neighbors, there's the 6-year-old child is also looking after the 6-month-old child. The 10-year-old child looks after the 8-year-old child. It's like the continuing concept. We've also created these constructs where we herd 20 to 40 children of the same age into the one classroom. That is not belonging. That is like trauma. That is fear. That is like, yes, we have friends, but they don't have anyone to look up to. They're looking alongside of how can they learn? They're learning from the other 4-year-old that is also like, what the fuck? Big subjects. There'll be lots of this in more episodes. So when we look at relationship and belonging, we are primping ourselves, making ourselves acceptable. This is what we are told to do. This is the message coming across, that we need to be the fittest, be the skinniest, be the prettiest, so that we don't die, so that we get chosen. Oh, please choose me. Oh, I need to be chosen so I get a roof over my head so that my children have safety. Because we are deeming that one other human, the partner, the father, is the one to provide all of that whilst the mother gives birth. In the natural state of being, it was community that provided that. And so the father would go out with other men and provide for all children, not just his. So big business, well before the industrialized revolution, but when we look at the revolution of industrialization, creates more trauma, competition. Loads of competition. It is not community-based. It is secular, solo, isolation-based. I will have all of these things for my children. As opposed to, and we have so much violence in our world, we have a complete sickness industry that controls our world to keep us sick, mentally, emotionally, physically. So is there an answer for tomorrow? No, but there are steps into changing this. So if we, pulling back the veil of women being pitted against one another in competition to be chosen, and what women do to be chosen, to make sure they have their monogamous relationship that's going to give them safety so the children can be raised. Like, this is really trauma-based. I don't have the answer right today. We're looking at community, and I'm going to do another episode around polysexual, because even the polyamorous community can't even say the fucking word. You're polysexual, you're getting your sexual needs met by more than one person. It's awesome if you're able to do that. And I'm going to do an episode on that, the reality of that, and also how we're choosing that, but not the rest of the way of living that it comes from. Anyway, that's another episode. I'm not going to dive down that, but it does pertain to this. So this is my vision for the future. And we're going to take competition out. We're going to stop women having, creating an environment of body shame, our body shame, how we look, all of these things where, female models are placed on pedestals instead of the 19-year-old that's just gotten through NASA, the 19 girl that's like in NASA, like freaking intelligent, passing all of these tests. Like she's not placed on a pedestal for girls, but the skinny model that's fucking starving herself and is only at the whim of what someone else deems appropriate. Somehow she's got accolades, which, she's in an industry that has bully tactics and, is also in fight and flight, because if she puts on a few pounds, she doesn't get the job. So all of these stuff like that industry that is around, having to bully people, and the fact that they're feeding us an image that has got nothing to do with us is insane, as we all know, hopefully. But if we take away the need for, yes, I know women work. I know women build business. Hella fucking low. I raised a child on my own. I have taken care of my life on my own for a very long time. So this is not about women this is not speaking about women, assuming that women are needing a man to build business is exactly really speaking to this. I'm speaking about the culture and the environment around body shaming. And why would we have body shame? Because we're not good enough for what? To be chosen, to be given attention. What do we need attention and to be chosen for is in relationship. So we can have a relationship so we stay safe, so we won't die. This is all in the primal brain. So we can be chosen and then build a lovely relationship to have housing so our children can have housing. So it's all around safety. But this safety is a model that doesn't fucking work for humanity. It works for big business because you have mortgages, you had to get divorce lawyers, but it's all around money. If when we shift things, so this is my invitation for the future, because it's going to be clunky for a while. If women stop turning to a relationship, and this is also about because also too, we're in these communities, women going, where are the men? Where's the men that are rising? Where's all of the good men? If we look at an environment, men don't have to be. They don't need to rise because we keep giving them fakeness. When I say we, these are general terms. Fucking hang on and find in this what works for you. Okay. So if we're going to keep on filling, if women are going to keep on getting fucking breast implants, which makes money for men, surgeons are generally men, 93% of plastic surgeons are all men. You're making them money, not women fuel businesses, for fuck's sake. So you're making them money, cutting labia so that you're acceptable. The fuck? Getting liposuction so you're acceptable. Surgeons, the majority of all this money is going to male-run businesses. So there's lots of things that are going to shift if we do all of this. So, but all of that is so that we're acceptable, because we're in competition with another woman to make sure we don't lose the man, so we don't lose the house. So let's take all of that out of the equation. If we have groups of women building buildings, women pooling their finances together to create living situations that are community-based, where you have your own apartment, you have, and women building so that financially they're in safety when they have children, that if they separate from the father of the child, like 50% of divorce, let's, we have to look at all of this right now. Or if they have, a relationship that leaves them with children, because it's always women left holding the baby. So they're left, but they have housing security, then they're not going to go to man for housing security. They're going to go to man for intelligence, how the man makes them feel. Now, what this will create is men will be required to actually be in the depth of who they are as men, which is such a fucking gift. I'm not here to emasculate men. I'm not here to go, let's take all of that away from men. I'm looking at ways to shift the paradigm, because we're in this paradigm. Yes, women are working really hard, and also raising children and doing, women often go first in, doing work on themselves. And there's a lot of men doing it. I'm not saying they're not. There's a lot of men doing it. But imagine a world where, if we're living more in women's groups, actually create the world so that when they go older, then the men that they want in their lives are by choice and want, not the need. And then women get, sort of through the divorce courts left holding the baby. And then you've got, and also I know this happens for men too, but it's a majority, women are left holding the baby. Like, you cannot fucking dispute that. So men continue with their careers moving up while women are doing a lot of the juggle to pick children up from school and having careers around children, around childcare. Now, a lot of this, the having to work is around keeping the roof over their head. So if women actually gathered together and created financial freedom as groups of women for housing and business, then relationships would really fucking change. It also would mean there's more time for relationships. It means that the co-creation would expand, not diminish. It means that then women have their own business, their own, living environment, housing, real estate, whatever it is here, then they meet it, and then there's more. So when they separate, that's okay. We've got something over here still, especially if there's children involved. Can you imagine the moreness that would come from the depth of relating, the depth of intimacy, better sex? Invitations are juicier. Doesn't mean that you would, everyone's got choice. But my invitation is for women to stop thinking that they need to be in a relationship to have the house for the family. Why not create it with other women? You are creating generational wealth over here amongst women, which means the invitation for the man is of greatness, which means men will rise more into greatness. Men walk into a sea of women with fake tits and fake bums, of course, they're going to choose it. Stop giving it to them. We drop the competition. They're not going to go, please, and the men that do, it's like, well, why would you want to be having a relationship with fakeness, with someone that needs fakeness anyway? But we're in competition with one another under the false belief that we need to be, because we've created it. Women have created this competition. We get to say no. Yes, it means we're going to be single for a while, as opposed to being in relationships that don't work, as opposed to another relationship where you feel like you're being used, you feel like you're not getting what you need. You're going into something that doesn't work because of the belief that we need to be in a relationship and you're going to be the chosen one. A lot of stuff that is icky is also because that's what's on offer. So change the offer. It might take a generation or two. Do it for your daughters. So that is my musing. The link to the live, I'm going to put down here as well, because that's a really juicy link, a juicy thing to listen to as well, listening to how this conversation came about. But this conversation around the initiation of body shame, where it comes from is women onto women. We get to, so be single. And the reality is a majority of penetrative sex for women is really fucking underwhelming because men are not supported to raise their sexual energy and to master that, to have ejaculation choice. So, the body that we're primping and that we're cutting and then we're filling and we're injecting and we're doing all of these, not we, like many women are doing, for what? To lay there and have your body used as a masturbation tool because because there's no boundaries about, so many people or allow someone to come into the body without finding out how long they can last first, to find out if they know anything about the female body. This is also what's so intriguing, and this will be another episode, all of this like filling up the tits and filling up the bum and cutting this and cutting that, and yet not asking good questions about so if you're doing this for attention, you're doing something to be chosen. Oh no, I've got to keep my youth so that I'm acceptable and I get chosen and yada yada yada. But chosen by who? Have you asked that person? Do they know anything about the female body? Do they know about how to de-armor the cervix? Do they know where the prostate gland is inside of you? Do they know where your A spot and P spot are? Do they know how long it takes for your body to open and surrender? Or are they just like going for it so they can get their penis inside so they can ejaculate inside? So you've done all of this fucking primping and promming and cutting and spent thousands of fucking dollars to cut yourself, to fool yourself, to fake yourself so someone can fuck you for 7 minutes? That's really what you're doing it for? That's my question. And there's my mic drop. This is where I'm going to finish this episode. Enjoy. You got any questions, reach out. And I'll do another episode on something else. This is Melissa Louise, your absolute pleasure advocate, walking into the revolution of our time. Lover, you have been inside of the Pleasure Studio, where all things intimate are up for discussion. Thanks for getting real with me today, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. If this conversation sparks something within you, do not hesitate to share it by emailing me via the link below. If you're not already, you can follow my good tush on the social media handles also below, and make sure to hit subscribe. Tune in next time for more truths about pleasure and passion. Until then, stay bold, courageous, and truthful as you explore your pleasure your way.